Welcome back. Data download time. Another major storm has hit the Bahamas. Just 2 weeks after Hurricane Dorian flattened homes and killed more than 50 people. And if it feels like big weather events are becoming more common in the last few decades, it's because they are. And it's not just hurricanes. Since the 1980s, the number of tropical depressions getting big enough to acquire a name has been growing. There were 93 named storms in the Atlantic in the 1980s when I was growing up in Florida. 110 in the 90s. A whopping 151 in the first decade of this century. And the tally already sits at 149 for the current decade, and we are still at the peak of the 2019 season. We're likely to surpass that 151 number before the end of October. And while some people debate the seriousness of the climate threat, one thing is crystal clear in the data: it's becoming a fiscal nightmare. Since 1980, there have been 250 weather events costing $1 billion or more. That's adjusted for inflation. And almost half of them, 111, have occurred in this current decade. And look at how the costs have gone up. In the 1980s, there were only 28 high-dollar weather events. We at a cost of, say, of about $172 billion. Now look at this decade. 111 into early 2019, costing more than $761 billion. Then, when you tally it all up, the costs are likely to end up at $750 billion or more. And then, of course, there is the human cost. The number of fatalities from extreme weather has climbed from 2,800 in the 80s to almost 5,200 this decade, and that does not include Hurricane Dorian. Here's the point. If there were something else that was costing around $1 trillion a decade, thousands of lives, most voters would notice and demand for lawmakers to do something to control that cost. What's more, climate change doesn't respect America's red-blue divide. Red Texas, purple North Carolina, and blue California are all impacted. And that means lawmakers on both sides of the aisle may need to stop debating and start dealing with this crisis. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.